The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning this morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. It's Friday the 30th of May 2025 and you are on the clock with Erin, Greene. There's so much to talk about this morning. We're still delving into talking budget. There are other stories in the paper today and yesterday I think that deserve attention. And so this Friday is an open line Friday. The numbers to call, 323-6232. That's 323-6232. 325-4316. That's 325-4316. 325-4259. 325-4259. And 242-300-5720. 242-300-5720 is toll-free for Family Island listeners. And the text line, powered as always by BTC, 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Like I said, I couldn't decide what to focus on this morning. So I said, well, let y'all decide what to focus on. Before we get there, all eyes are on Serenade of the Seas. Guardian Media Group and Going Places Travel want to take you on a 7-day cruise for 4 to Panama, Colombia, Curacao, and Aruba on Royal Caribbean Serenade of the Seas. And here's the best part, no visa required. That's right, no visa required. You have 4 ways to enter, 4 ways to win. Fill out the form in the Nassau Guardian, or listen to Star 106.5 and Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram or make a purchase at Going Places Travel. Entry deadline is June 27th, 2025. Drawing on July 4th, 2025. So pack your bags, get ready to soak up the sun and feel that ocean breeze. You and 3 loved ones sailing the high seas on a vacation cruise of a lifetime. This is brought to you by the Guardian Media Group and Going Places Travel. Certain conditions apply. Airfare, taxes, and gratuities not included. Well, it's a good time. In studio right now is Mr. C.A. I'm not sure if he's joining the conversation this morning. I beg him to come in the room so I could bait him. But he don't look like a grouper today. You don't look like a grouper today. However, Mr. Newey, 4 people, 4 stops. You know what I would do? I would assign a stop to every person and say, look here, your job is to research all the things that we could do in this destination, right? And then we plan our days so we could make the most of this trip. That's what I would do, right? If somebody were gracious enough to say, Erin, you could be my 4th on this Serenade of the Seas giveaway. Well, this morning, one of the stories I prepped from last night was PM, private cruise destinations will drive GDP growth. Private cruise destinations will drive GDP growth, which I'm not certain, it sounds odd on the surface, right? And so I say I can put this story down. But let me make the connection here. When I was coming to work, I was thinking about it, thinking about the promotion, because I read it every day, right? And I thought, you know, we really do need a calendar of events, a national calendar of events. But we have several of them, but I mean something more expansive than that. So I'm thinking about how people plan cruises. People plan their cruise, like some people, months, if not years in advance, right? And I went on a cruise once, and I think I suffered from not knowing what was available or possible when I got to the destination because I didn't get the Wi-Fi package, right? So I didn't have access to Wi-Fi until I sort of got off the ship and got on the island. And I think it would benefit not just those directly connected to tourism, like the vendors and businesses that are part of the Ministry of Tourism shoreside excursion, so BASE, right? It's a agency or an association for vendors and businesses that offer excursions online, right? Shoreside excursions. So I think we would, the people closest, and even us on the outer fringes of tourism would benefit if we could be included in a calendar of events. But the problem is this: your calendar has to be set a year out. Like, you need to know that you're doing this event. You have to have continuity, you have to have sustainability, and you have to have certainty, right? But so we could see the major food festivals like Food Fest, for World Day Food Fest. We could see Rake and Scrape Cat Island. Like, in fact, that's a good example. Rake and Scrape Cat Island Festival. They're serious about their international promotion. They have their dates confirmed, and they're disseminating information and marketing their event a year out, right? And I think that while businesses, especially with this headline, private cruise destinations, that suggests to me that the people ain't coming to me in New Providence, or they're not coming to me on shore to spend their money. But if we have a calendar of events where people could plan ahead, so when they book the cruise, they could say, yeah, I want to do some cruise things, but I also want to do some non-cruise, advertised or sponsored things as well. Jump in the conversation, Mr. Nuri.
My mic is not on yet. I'm not sure if you can hear me. But
Kermit, you could turn the mic, something up with the mic.
I'm here now. Yeah, good. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to debate you because you always have a response on whose tourist is it. On a cruise ship, whose tourist is that?
The cruise.
So it's a cruise line.
Yeah.
Their goal is to do what?
Make money.
For who?
Them.
Okay, so that's one.
Yeah.
Right? I was reading an article recently on terms of why cruises have changed from the theme of they having you experience different islands, different countries every day, to immerse you in a different culture every day. They're now moving away from that to having their guests experience a different country and their culture every time they dock. They're now moving it that they don't want their guests to go and involve in that island's culture, but to either stay on the ship, one, or to go on their private island where they express their culture.
All right. So stick a pin just for a second, because I like where you're going. Is it possible, right? No, is it possible? Is it possible that the cruise lines say, hey, we bring in the people here for culture, right? But these people have not been able to organize themselves sufficiently to provide access to their culture in a way that sort of fits into either our model or global standard. Right? And because when you have that thought, see, for me, when I have the thought, these people are unable, right? And if I'm a European person, if I'm a foreign, I have to think, well, why are they unable? Are they unable because their lives have been disrupted historically to the point where they are unable to sort of articulate their culture in a way that can connect to these global business models, right? Because then I start to feel dead guilty, because they were burning libraries up until 2012. French were burning libraries in Mali up until 2012, right? And so there's a guilt. Is there a guilt? Bahamians have it. Bahamians reflect it. I hear Bahamians say, well, we shouldn't show the tourists or talk to the tourists about slavery. We shouldn't talk to the tourists about the enslavement of Africans. We shouldn't show the tourists what that experience was like in the Bahamas. Almost as if we feel also ashamed, or we feel ashamed that we can make them feel guilty, and really we want them to spend money, right? But that's also a type of tourism that you could take advantage of, but you have to be very savvy, smart, and strategic. Okay, back to your point, right? They have their idea, their culture, and they're now telling you, you're going to experience the Bahamas this way.
This way. And that Bahamas has nothing to do with the Bahamas at all. Right now, we have 3 private islands now, maybe. The one without all the slides and whatever it is.
Coco Key?
Coco Key. And then they have the one by Exuma, I think.
Possibly, yeah.
And then they have now the one on Eleuthera at the tail end.
Lighthouse Point.
And their goal there is now, they don't mind having Bahamians involved in it because you live in the Bahamas, right? but the experience is not tours at all. There's nothing to tour.
All right.
You come there and you experience the beach. These are beach excursions. I even forget the one over PI also. They're beach excursions.
No, you have a point. They're not cultural excursions. Now we see PI, the beach club, Royal Caribbean Beach Club. They seem to be making strides and attempts to ensure that a Bahamian culture is represented in that space the way that they have designed it, right? And that's a valiant effort. But for me, it's two things. Whose tourism is it?
Yes.
I think it's the government's tourism. And I think they've resigned themselves to just collecting as much tax as they can as possible.
Now, picture there's an increase of private islands.
I come into you now, caller.
Cruise line, private islands.
Yeah.
Moving away from New Providence, but there's no need to stop to New Providence. We can stop to our own island here.
Yeah.
Right? How does that benefit the taxi drivers? See, I ain't talking with locals because locals working.
Yeah.
But how does it benefit the taxi
a
drivers?
specific sector like the taxi
Or
drivers.
the tour drivers.
Right. The only way they could get into that business if they begin selling that experience to stopover passengers.
So now that's a different thing. Now,
Right.
But this advertisement is for cruise ship. Now, stopover passengers is a different animal, and perhaps we need to target them differently.
Right. Well, remember, Royal Caribbean said they open to Bahamians and other guests, not just, I think, their cruise people.
And don't forget, Royal Bahamian, you have to take the what do you call it?
Like a ferry.
To get there.
But to see the taxi guy, take them to the ferry. But we can get back into. Let's go to the phone line. Good morning, caller.
Hey, a pleasant good morning, Erin and Sis. How y'all doing?
Good, thank you. How you do?
Doing okay. Decided to get in early today. I don't know if you're going to get into the budget at any point, but I was.
We're talking budget right now.
Listen.
Hold on.
No, you're talking tourism right now.
No, we're talking budget right now. PM private cruise destinations will drive GDP growth.
Okay, so
This was a part of the budget discussion yesterday.
yes, but day before yesterday, yes.
Yeah.
Understood. Well, I was happy to hear the direction that I thought Nuri was going in with his comments, right?
Uh-huh.
And let me just highlight, one of the questions I always ask is how have we benefited and how have we improved our tourism in real ways to the benefit of Bahamians, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we look at what's happening, for instance, while we can brag, yes, that we have a GDP per capita that is far greater than our counterparts in the Caribbean, not in the region, in the Caribbean, right? Which may be true. That GDP per capita in real terms does not inure to the benefit of average and everyday citizens, which is one of the things that we seek on the opposite end of to discuss with the international financiers who hold us to the same standards as a Canada or the United States. But at the same time, on the bottom end of that discussion, we tout and we brag that we have a GDP per capita that is superior to those in the region, when in fact those in the region, while their GDP per capita may be much lower, they are getting every benefit there is to have every step of the way of every industry in their country. We are not doing that. We are doing a piss poor job of doing that.
But look here, hold on, Antoine. That's 2 days in a row. Y'all stop using that term on my show, please.
No problem.
Okay, no problem.
Pardon me?
No problem.
Yeah, no problem, Erin. We are doing an extremely poor job. We are extremely deficient, inefficient in deriving the benefits of tourism to the benefit of Bahamians in our country. Look, man, in other parts of the world, first world nations, they don't just allow tourism players to come in and capitalize in the way that tourism partners are capitalizing and taking advantage in the Bahamas. They ensure that they understand tourism and the benefits of tourism belong to the country that you're operating in. Amen. That's the first principle. Amen. And if you're going to be partnering, you're going to partner to the benefit of the citizens of that country. Amen. And partnering doesn't mean just bringing jobs to the country, okay? Especially low-paying jobs, okay, with minimal benefits, okay? Partnering meaning ownership stakes in whatever is happening. We are allowing for all of the benefits of what belong naturally to Bahamians to be plowed by these foreign investors coming into our country, investing in the number one golden goose that's supposed to lay the golden egg, except the golden egg isn't being laid to the benefit of Bahamians. It's being laid to the benefit of the investors who are coming in with their money and who the government of the Bahamas, through our negotiations, through our very poor negotiations, are allowing for them to take every benefit out of the country rather than keeping it in the country.
Thank you.
That's why we can't see a new wave or a new generation of multi-millionaires and very successful businesses coming out of the tourism sector.
Thank you.
This is exactly why.
I like Anton. Yeah, man. Thank you. But that point he made, not seeing businesses, strong, stable, sustainable businesses. He used the term millionaires, right? Mm-hmm. Coming out of tourism. With the amount of money that tourism takes in, with the amount of resources that they, I use the term hog up, with what they say they're producing, we should have seen more sustainable, large-scale businesses created and operated.
This one I want to inject and say, at least we now have tour companies now on Bay Street, and it's impressive to see these private cars deck out a part of tourism now. And it's something new, because I know they were blocked in terms of insurance, and I'm not sure what the government did to correct that. Mm-hmm. But the chippy one and that Junkanoo one, when you see them, you just feel like, oh, thank God. You see them.
We see these elements in the product that we've seen in other places for a while now, and we wondered why is it taking so long for these things to come here? Just to speak to, I call like coming right now, just to speak to something that Anton said in the budget. You all remember for a couple of years now I was talking about the debt to nature swap? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're going to get to that right after we take this caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mrs. Greene.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Fine, and you? You know, Miss Greene, Sparky must have transferred the island very often and listening to things that people say on the street. There's some comments a lot of people have been making to me when I walk in different grocery stores and stuff in regards to talk shows. One of the main things I get was to ask the question of whether you think we should have night talk shows as well, maybe 24-hour talk shows. The reason I asked them, why do they ask me that? Like, your show is 1 hour. Certain people you give 30 seconds, a minute, and so forth. The example I'm trying to use right now is the last caller called in and spoke for over 5 minutes and 53 seconds. Saying that, Miss Greene, they said, don't you think some of those regular callers should maybe have their own talk show at night? There are certain callers that call in and call back, and they talk for...
No?
The call just dropped. Okay, so I feel you. Anton did speak for a little while. I was waiting, trying to find the best place to segue out. But this, Nuri, you ever heard a known PLP lay such a sound and coherent critique of its own party's policy? And he did it in a way where you could understand it also includes a broader critique of the political class and governance over successive administrations and switching of parties, right? I thought that that was a sound contribution, and I actually glad I let it go, because see, sometimes it takes some of y'all a little while to walk. But remember when I used to cut you off because I know what you're going to say, and then I say exactly what you was going to say, but you still mad at me? So sometimes I try to let people get it out because I can hear that there's something good coming. Let's go to the next caller quickly. Good morning, caller.
Ms. Greene, how are you this morning?
Good, thank you, sir.
Brother Nuri,
Blessings to you, inshallah.
We have people, we have PLPs who speak like Anton sometimes. Mm-hmm. I am a PLP supporter, but we know those type of people when they're trying to usher for something that they can't get, or what people think they don't have too much offer, what people think they don't deserve. So what they then try to do is try to get the public on their side. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, there's no doubt in my mind that Anton is a PLP. Mm-hmm. It's just, I feel that he is not getting, not even what he wants, what do you think he deserves? Let me put it like that.
Could it be that he's just a fierce defender of good policy? You know, like it's not that he's
in
not.
The last year.
Okay,
what happened in the last 20 years, 30 years when he was claiming 20, 25 years when he's claiming he just decided to be a fair defender in the last.
No, it'd been at least 2 years. I've been concerned for Anton's membership in the PLP for a hot minute.
Be concerned. The PLP is not like that. There's no thing to be concerned. Let's just let you run until you buck up.
Okay, so watch this. I find this interesting. Right? Because often when critique is laid at the feet of politicians or government actors, right?
Yeah.
The first thing they say is, well, use the opposition. The opposition don't agree with anything we do.
No,
discounting.
No, see, that
hold
is
on.
For some other people.
I know, but hold on. Discounting that critique may come from someone who's not involved in politics at all, right? So what I find interesting is how parties manage their internal critique. How do they?
But you have to now find out, Ms. Greene, if the caller is a part of the internal PLP, or if he's just a PLP supporter that has a lot of to say.
No, man, he can't be like me around here pretending like I's a valley boy, and I ain't never even.
Yeah, Russian, you still with the spirit.
The greatest scrap group. Thank you very much. That space fascinates me. Right, we're not going to delve on it. Just how do parties handle critique? Because it's like with just the debate 2 days ago, right? The Davis administration acted as if all of the critique all came from the FNM. Like anybody who disagrees with this must be motivated by their location in the opposition. And that's so juvenile and petty and below, it's unbecoming. It's below the standard of a politician in the Bahamas. Like you ain't trying to be a A.D. Hanna with that foolishness, right? You ain't trying to be a Pinland with that, right? Anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to point out, going back to this part of the budget about this cruise possibility. Last year, for several years, we know that our stopover visits has been declining.
Yeah.
We know our cruise numbers has been increasing again. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, and this is where the critique comes in. I am not sure there is a need for our government to invest or make effort to expand cruise business in general. That expands by itself.
We need to focus on stopover
visitors and the quality of the quality of management.
Look here.
So when I speak about critique, does this position of the government be critique and say, I hear you, Mr. Prime Minister, but no.
Yeah,
I ain't interested.
Stick a pin, hold that point, because I'm thinking, should the environment be organized in a way that Bahamians are enabled to focus on stopover guests as opposed to trying to capture all this tourist money? Because tourists it's KFC market. I've been on a cruise. I was a Burger King customer in a KFC market, and then I live in a Dune and Mubu market. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're on the clock.
Ms. Greene.
Good morning.
I just listened to Anton. I don't think Anton was wrong. And the gentleman who just called just now, you need to listen to what Anton said, because he was just saying for the betterment for the Bahamian people. And I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. We need to stop, all of us in this country need to stop thinking about the party. It's not about party. The party, that's been there. But it's about Bahamians now. We need to get it. Mm-hmm. We need to become rich. We need to be able to enjoy our land. We need to be able to enjoy what is beneficial to us out of this country for nobody else other than Bahamians. And Anton was right this morning. Now, I don't know if he's been right prior to that, but he's right this morning.
I got you.
Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. And that's what the caller was saying. The caller was saying Anton was right this morning, but he was just saying he don't always be right. That's it. And
I have a text here that says, good morning. So they are unable to grow stopover visitors, which was slightly lower last year, something like I just said just now, as well as the first quarter of this year. Now they are trying to gaslight us into believing that GDP growth will occur from cruise passengers' arrivals. notwithstanding less than 20% of these passengers even leave the ship.
Yeah.
Well, that's something to consider. And I should say,
We really have to delve into it.
yes, is the critique of this position of the government warranted? And where we can say, I appreciate what you're saying, but we're not really interested.
And we can bring for that conversation and reach out to Pat Ramming.
Yeah.
Because he has written a number of books on tourism and understanding tourism models in the Bahamas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Greene. Morning to Nuri.
Morning.
I the PLP. Well, I can't stand PLPs who's going against other PLPs for saying their own opinion. Everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah.
In regard to these private islands, we just have to know the ratio of what money the government receives from these private islands. Do they receive money, or is that the first initial step when the island is leased, or is that it? Or is there a monetary value each quarter, or what's happening with that? That's what we have to know.
Right, we
Until
need to
know
see the
that,
numbers.
We don't have any information.
Yeah, I agree with you. We need to see the numbers to determine whether it's worth it. Thank you very much, caller. Producer, thank you so much. Producer, let's go to the next caller. Good morning. Boy, caller, look here. Sorry I took so long because you call in on 242-300-5720, which is a toll-free number for Family Island listeners. If you're from Abaco, call in. How y'all mad at Pinder? Why y'all mad at Pinder?
Which Pinder?
Abaco Pinder, the people say in the paper today, the people say they mad at Pinder.
John Pinder?
Yeah.
You think Abaco in trouble? They have 2 seats there. I thought only 1 seat had an issue.
No, but everybody say he's the PM of Abaco. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning, caller. All right, let's go to the next caller. Good morning, caller.
You only can't cap in for the FNM, Erin Greene, and you're fucked up.
You asked me if I cap in for the FNM?
Campaigning.
Campaigning for the FNM? That's what that sound like I doing? Campaign for the FN. Producer, let's go to the phone line because they're calling from a family island, it look like. Good morning, caller.
Yes, how you doing, Miss Greene and Nui? Just see Alan Johnson.
Okay, see, Alan, let me preface this. I can't give you too much time. You ain't hear the next caller.
No, too much time. I call you to just give you some information on tourism.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
The 11 million tourists is equivalent to 450,000 stay-over visitors when you look at the total amount.
Okay. 11 million tourists, cruise tourists, right?
Is equal to 450,000 stopover visitors.
Okay.
Now, when you look at the cruise the island or the islands, this is what the government in the Prime Minister's budget contribution, he says they're supposed to be looking at how to recover these revenue bleed out that happens on these islands. Like, for instance, you could rent a gazebo for up to $4,000 for one day, and all of these different things that they feed from in the cruise industry to the tune of profits. And believe it or not, those profits are counted against our GDP, even though they're not realized by the Bahamian people themselves. Mm-hmm. And so the problem is that, we talk about this economic growth, and it's to the exclusion of Bahamian people. And just let me say this. If you look at the tourism industry right now and the need for supposedly 15 to 30,000 rooms, if you were to actually look at the means which is available today in the marketplace through fintech and other different things, you can create thousands of millionaires by basically putting Bahamians into the short-term vacation rental market, but it requires you to look not at the current banking model. In fact, you have the banks saying that they have $3.5 billion in lazy money sitting right now, in liquidity sitting that's not being used. The problem is that we keep having these business development seminars that gives you $5,000 and $10,000 to start so you could fail, and rather than looking at an overall injection in developing the economy. Even the TDC, or Tourism Development Corporation, still talk about $10,000 when a functional bed and breakfast, even one unit, should run about $210,000 to build. But the revenue from that alone, that's just the innocent. If you have a $20,000 loan for $2,500 a month, but if you build that at the level that we talk about, the way the competitive is, your income from that at minimum is between $52,000 and $78,000 a year. So you pay $25,000 in mortgage payment, or even $40,000 in mortgage payment, but you make $78,000 a year. Just the numbers are there if we actually want to have a real conversation. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you Thank you very much. Just before I go to the next caller, here's a text in Texas that coming to you. The text says, I'm not sure if you heard Naughty Show yesterday. That's Guardian 96.9 FM from 4 to 6 p.m. Economist Therese Turner-Jones referenced studies that models rates of return for tourism in the Caribbean. She speculated that the Bahamas may actually fall in line with the negative rate contribution model, given that we first don't own the destinations and the bulk of profits are going out the country. I say that all the time. That's what the plantation model tourism system is. That's why I call it plantation model tourism. We put in 90% of the work, they take 90% of the profit. Second, together with the large tax incentives and the $1 million ads we offer to attract foreign tourism investors, she speculated that on balance, we may actually be fully subsidizing the foreign enclaves. I say that too. She, of course, said more study is required. That's my problem, is I don't actually have a study. So when I hear the government touting this new model of tourism enclaves, I shudder because it's clear what's happening. The cruise ships are saying all for me. The GB multi-ship Lucayan model is an enclave to accommodate 10,000 tourists. RCI PI is proposing an enclave to accommodate 3,500 tourists for PI and possibly GB. These numbers represent the total daily complement of all tourists leaving the targeted ships. What are we doing? We are fumbling our way through a plantation model tourism system. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Greene.
Good morning. Something happened to your line, ma'am. Please call back. The number is to call 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, 242-300-5720. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. Are you there? All right, let's go to the next caller. Good morning, caller.
Ms. Greene, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How you do?
Wait a minute. The last caller said that you campaign for the FNM, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could laugh like HAI. If I could laugh like Hubert Ingram, possibly. But go on, and then I can go on.
They don't know that you're an habitual. They don't know that you constantly spoil your ballot.
Listen, they don't know. Not just that.
Hold
on.
I got a bone to pick with you with that.
Okay, well, we could talk about effective models of electoral protest.
You realize it's about 352 degrees outside?
Oh,
yeah. Why would you wait on that long line, taking a chance, peeing up yourself on that long line, turning at least 5 to 10 shades of black, just to spoil your ballot?
Okay, because perhaps you don't see the value of spoiling the ballot, and I'm going to show you why. We will never see the value of spoiling the ballot unless the people who are responsible for disseminating election results and information understand that it is a part of the process, right? I want you to know that it's the political culture that discounts spoiled ballots. See, because they tell you if you don't vote, you don't want to be a responsible citizen. You don't want to be a part of decision making. And when I spoil my ballot, what I'm showing them is this is still a valid electoral decision, and my ability to contribute to policy making doesn't stop at the electoral booth. Because the political class has attempted to convince us of that. On a regular basis, people text my show and tell me, well, once you vote them in, you give them the authority to do what they want. That's poppycock. That's what the old people used to say. That's a federation. That's a cacophony of foolishness. But it's been perpetuated consistently by a lazy political class and a dysfunctional political culture.
Okay, but Ms. Greene.
Yeah.
And when you know, straight in the lane. If you spoil your ballot this election coming up, right? I'm going to pay 4 elderly people in Foxhill 22 dailies just to pinch you 14 times.
Well, you know what I'm scared of. I appreciate, and I also appreciate the critique there. Those who are saying, look here, this is too important to rely on as a form of protest. I appreciate that. And people say, no, man, it's too important. You need to make a decision that, I get it. People say it's too important to spoil your ballot, you need to vote. But the constituency I live in, I don't know if anybody other than FNM ever go in that seat. Anyway, I got you. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next caller. I can't believe you all forget when I was on Morning Blend with Strawn from what, 2017 almost to 2019 to 2021. Y'all forget that, hey? I am an equal opportunity critic. The FNM just ain't saying enough to even deserve critique right now. Good morning, caller.
Hey, Erin. Good morning. How are you?
Thank you. Good, thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Great. Just 3 quick points here. Firstly, until we get to understand that it is not the modus operandi of hardly any administration to ensure that even get anywhere close to becoming a millionaire, then you'll begin to understand the culture of how our leaders think about us in this country. Right now, the majority of Bahamian people, looking at the numbers, had the government been doing what it's supposed to be doing for the people and by the people, perhaps a lot of us would have been close to millionaires, not just by our own works, but also through the investments that the Bahamas government claims to be making on behalf of the Bahamian people. We would not be in the place where we are right now. So that's a lot. We could blame the politicians for a lot of things, but we also have to blame ourselves for the mindsets that we have for ourselves in order to get things to change. It starts with us. We settle for the nonsense that, we voted for them 5 years, so therefore they make all the decisions for us for 5 years. What they choose to do for us, what they choose to give us, what they choose not to give us. And we sit down here, we complain, but we are not willing to go there and demand that they do better to give us our return on the monies that they spent. That is our money, and we are getting nothing back but jobs. I have a very, very serious problem with that. We're supposed to be owners of this country. We run a banana republic, and yet when we talk about it, these same pundits for these political parties, they understand what's going on, But because they're either getting the crumbs from the table or they are in cahoots with these people, nothing is going to change. I'll close on this one point while I'm at it. It's kind of ironic that we have the outsiders dictating to our insiders, i.e. our leadership, and our leadership then is also supposed to be our servants. But our servants aren't our servants because our servants are the gods and we're worshiping them, when it is them who should be serving and worshiping we, the Bahamian people. Until we turn this tub on its right side, nothing in this country is going to change for we as Bahamians. And it's sad and it's pathetic, but thanks for taking my call this morning.
Absolutely. And here's the joke. I bet you when they're in private and they're talking to each other, they talk as if we are the slave masters, They talk as if we have this wild expectation that they supposed to work for us and they put in the labor and then they ain't supposed to get any of the spoils. Like we just want to sit here like citizens while they slave and break their back governing. And we such bad whip crackers. We don't care about them and their feelings. And this time the model is reversed, I just like, wow, the audacity. Good morning, caller. Okay, I'm sorry. Good, let's go to the next caller. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Greene. Good morning, Mr. Newey.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, the thing is about life and information and knowledge, what's in people's head. Everybody have a different outlook on the same information.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have heard you spoken about private islands, the cruise ship industry, et cetera, the PM talk about the incomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I look at the lack of insight and environmental checks on these entities. I've spoken to people who work on Cocoa Key and all these different things. I've heard all types of stories about the way they discard waste. And so when you look at these factors, understanding you dump something now, but you don't worry about it later. So then maybe it would be a good idea to put spies on these cruise ships so we could find out what these people are actually doing. Because we have the pros outweighing the cons.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to do a whole show on the debt for nature swap.
But look here, I in it in the budget right now.
Yeah, but Erin, even with the advantages, the pros and cons of debt for nature swap.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that is apparent when you go and read up on it is the complexities and the transparency. That's what they actually talk about, the transparency and sustainability and transaction fees. It's a whole complex issue that we are being kept in the dark on. It's not all good like the government make it sound. Give thanks.
Thank you. Let's go to the next caller. Oh, well, we got to go to a break. When we get back from the break, caller, I'm going to go straight to you. I got to get to the text line, and I just want to read briefly what's in the budget about what they now call the Debt for Nature Conservation Transaction. What I've been talking about. It's the same thing, though. What I've been talking about for over 2 years now, a debt for nature swap. And I'm sure I begged y'all to demand that the policymakers tell us exactly what it is and what it intends to do before they make the decision. Anyway, when we get back from the break, you're on the clock with Erin, Greene, and also Sparky, that idea you had. Nighttime talk shows. That's what I was vying for. You can imagine on the clock and then on the clock after dark? Yeah, I like it. You're on the clock. Stay tuned. Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.
Just sign in and have a seat, please. They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a waiting room. You won't have that problem at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
For fast, reliable, and impactful printing services, look no further. Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life. We stand by our quality products that is second to none. Our affordable pricing and friendly, efficient staff makes Printmasters the ultimate choice for all your printing needs. We can deliver any type of printing services, from banners to booklets to business cards. You name it, we can print it.
Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
At Cleveland Clinic, care is everything. So when your primary purpose is to care for the world, you'd start with your community until you're accessible anywhere. You make complexities your specialties and put compassion before anything else, all to redefine what's possible. Everywhere. For every care in the world. Cleveland Clinic.
Measles is on the rise around the world, and the Bahamas is at risk,
which makes us very vulnerable as a nation for the possible outbreak of measles cases.
Every Saturday in May from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Ministry of Health and Wellness will host MMR immunization visits in South Beach, Coconut Grove, Fox Hill, and Elizabeth Estates. Clinics in these areas will remain open until 8 p.m. twice per week. Get your child immunized now.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good morning and welcome back to On the Clock with Erin Greene. Now, guys, we got 5 minutes. I could give the callers 30 seconds apiece, and I got lots of texts I have to get to. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Greene and Mr. Neary.
Blessings.
How y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
Do you know, I asked the question, but I say I'm not sure. The union, the Melinda Wilson, them union and other unions, them.
The third Trade Congress. Like the third.
No, the TUC, the Trade Union Congress, saying that they're marching on Labor Day.
Yeah.
I was trying to find out if them other unions saying marching either, or if they marching.
They've indicated that they plan on supporting the Labor Day parade.
They are going to.
Yeah. Okay. Now let me make it what is. I'm not going to take them participating in the parade as support for the PLP or their decisions to occupy the parade in the way that they do it. And I think that's fair, right?
So the NTCU, you remember them? We have 3 major unions now. We only have 2 now.
No, we have 3. The first 2 historic unions, and then the third union that was formed after the fallout from the MOU signing.
One of them, the historic union, the NTCU, Who's still underneath them? The BCP or you still underneath them? Who's defend, who represent the Patelco people?
I could be honest with you, I don't remember. I would need to have a list in front of me.
Yeah, maybe leading up to Labor Day, you could be able to get that information. And
Yeah, I could do that. Next week's shows, we're going to do a Labor Day focus.
All right, keep up the good work.
Absolutely. Blessings and thank you. Thank you. Okay, next caller, you got 30 seconds. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. Good. I'm sorry I missed you. All right, let's get to the text line quickly. Someone say, yeah, use Air Aloe for data when traveling. Is that a Caribbean company? It's not spelled ALOE. But wouldn't it be nice if that was a Caribbean company? Okay, here's another text. Erin, since the government have this big surplus, they should be able to pay retired junior police officers their long-awaited gratuity. You know what it is to be a retired junior police officer and you still waiting on your money from you as a junior? That is rough. I was going to say social services. I was going to say I haven't seen or heard anything about mental wellness in the budget. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And they correlate. They don't, right? Like it's not causal, it's correlation. Why y'all ain't say nothing about mental health? I have a story to tell. I have like 7 stories to tell. Next text. I heard the DPM mention the TDC on the interview with Dwight yesterday. What exactly is the purpose of the TDC, Ms. Greene? Oh boy, I wish I had more time. We could do it. I did a show on it. I could do another show on it, the Tourism Development Corporation. All I can tell you right now is they have their own consolidated fund. That's very concerning to me. And as a part of this conversation, we're going to continue that conversation. Sparky is correct, and I agree with him. Anton calls every talk show in Nassau. You need to sit back and listen sometimes to other people. Anton had an excellent contribution today. He could tighten it up a little bit. Like we all can, like myself. Sparky, okay. Also, that night talk show thing I think is a good idea. See, Alan Johnson says he's a PLP. Did he say he's a PLP? And has challenged anyone with a leadership title or in the PLP hierarchy to say publicly he is not a PLP. He and Anton seem to agree in different ways to the same things. He could be a card-carrying member of the PLP. Why not? Question is, could you be a card-carrying member of both parties? Why not? I mean, they like to collect tax. I don't think they have a problem with that. Have C. Allen explain if making those millionaires will be a part of the FNM 2026 campaign promises and have him explain the hows. Y'all just say C. Allen is a PLP though. Anyway, political hijinks. One more text. MP says yesterday introduced a $3 per day visa fee for cruise workers to allow them to work on the cruise ship private enclaves. Boy, if you don't laugh, now they could legally disenfranchise Bahamian labor. That's in the story. We just didn't get to that part of the story yet.
Be analyzed. It seems as if cruise workers, international cruise workers, were allowed to work on the island. Right?
Yes.
But I thought they had to pay NIB.
Everybody have to pay NIB if they work in.
So now they have to pay NIB plus the $3 per.
You missing the point. Where they get the work permit to work on the island.
Technically, they still on a cruise ship.
Not if they're on the island.
They're on a private island.
No, it's not like they're not the U.S. Embassy.
No, it's not an extension of.
No, the private island is not an extension of the cruise ship. But these are the things that we need to talk about. Because I could be honest with you, this week is the first time I hear Chester Cooper them, Ministry of Tourism them talking about the Prime Minister. The cruise ship is a resort with all these amenities. Y'all stop doing that. Let me show you why. Y'all stop doing that. You are not experts. You're not tourism experts. You are policy producers. You are paper pushers. Stop creating new language because it's politically and economically expedient to you. Who is the tourism for? Well, cruise ship tourism is obviously for the government because they have traded Bahamian access to the space for more tax dollars. I don't know why, but I could guess. Anyway, we're going to continue with this discussion at another time. Here's the article. It says introduces new daily fee for work visas for employees of passenger ships. That's yesterday's Nassau Tribune.
Daily fee for the application of work visas or daily fee in place of the work visas?
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app.